on it.
Where do you get the videos?
He has Hope Lives 365, but they're everywhere. Like they're all over Facebook and everywhere. But if you look on Hope Lives 365, you should find him. Or if you just go onto YouTube and put Mark Finley Rehab, you'll probably get him.
He's famous.
Yeah, he's famous for that. So he then was with the walker. Then now he's just with a cane. So he's doing okay.
Well, poor T.
I know, she
put herself to ease.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
As I said, she broke her hip.
She did, because it was at General Conference and she was walking and somebody asked her something. She was walking at the same time or something, and she fell and broke her hip. But his was more serious.
That sounded.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad break, but he should be okay.
I keep reminding myself to pay attention.
Right, exactly. I know. You have to pick your feet up higher and
I watched you trip over the skirt up there.
Yeah. Oh, see?
I watched it just now, and I thought, oh,
she's going down. Hey,
got to keep it in the family.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
well, Sam, this might be it here.
Oh, you got everything. This is my little tiny fan club from last time.
Oh, it picks up. It's a week.
Right.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Helps if the microphone is turned on. Not that we really need it today. I'm Rick Anderson, Superintendent of Education here in the Carolina Conference. And I've been in the office now for my 10th year, and have enjoyed over the years working with Sandra a little bit from a distance, but collectively in our conference have been supporting her Three Angels curriculum. In fact, our office has offered it at no cost to our different schools in the conference, and many have taken advantage of that. And recently, some others are being added on, and we're at least covering the costs of all of the teachers' materials. But we've been blessed here at our camp meeting to have Sandra here now a couple times.
Uh-huh.
And it's just been a blessing over the years to get to know her and to see her work. She probably doesn't need any introduction today, other than Sandra's name is synonymous with curriculum, with leadership, with education. We could have a list a mile long, because her hands have been in education for a long time. And from our conference offices and from our teachers, just been an inspiration for what we can present to our children in the classroom. Her passion, of course, is just evangelistic work with our young people. And, of course, I think you all know she's related to Mark Finley and probably feels sometimes like she lives in his shadow, but she really doesn't. She stands alone with what she does and has made a name for herself in Adventist education. So that's, again, why it's counted a privilege to have her here today. Mark and Teeny Finley were actually, he pastored, the first church he ever pastored was my home church. Back in when I was, fourth or fifth grade. In fact, Teeny was my fifth grade teacher.
Oh, I didn't know her.
And Mark and my dad was the head elder at the church in Little Rockville, Connecticut. And he has always told anyone that will listen to him that he trained Mark Finley for his profession. So thanks to my dad, we have Mark Finley today. And thanks to Mark Finley, we have Sandra. So we're blessed to have her here today. I want to welcome her husband, Eric, as well, for taking their time this week to spend in the Carolina Conference. Every time I sit and listen to her message or her presentations, I learn just valuable stuff for our classroom. So, Sandra, thank you for being here. Just want to ask that we invite the Lord's presence to be with us as we begin today. And I think you're in for a good treat this week. Father in heaven, what a blessing it is to be here in Junaluska, to have an opportunity this week to grow in our personal relationship with Jesus, to spend time with him in prayer, contemplation. This afternoon, we have an opportunity to hear words of inspiration for our classrooms, not just formal classrooms at school, but I know that there will be some information we can use to improve our homes with our love for our children and the way that we bring them up in the ways of Jesus. Whether it's children, grandchildren, friends, and those in our churches that we can assist. Father, we're here to learn some things this week that can be beneficial for that. We thank you for Sandra and Eric being here this week. Ask your blessing on them. And we just thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Wherever.
So, Sandra, just let me know if there's anything I can do to help along here. And I'm not too quick on my feet, but I can help get things passed around.
Good. Can I just keep all this madding crowd under control here? Okay. All right. Did all of you get the handouts that we have? We have a note-taking sheet there with some information on it, and then I have a couple of things with some information on Three Angels for Kids, so feel free to take that. Just a little shameless advertisement for Three Angels for Kids in case you don't know about it. We have materials from pre-K all the way through grade 12 now. It can be used in the classroom, and it can be used in the homeschool. So we have a few updates, and I have something hot off the press that even Mr. Anderson here hasn't seen, but we now have a pre-K curriculum, and we have this little pre-K book. So how would you teach the Three Angels messages to a 4-year-old? So we teach them about messages, and we teach them about angels. That's it. So that when they come to K, they know what a message is, and they know what an angel is. And I just got this from the printer. I don't have the other one yet, but in case you wanted to see it, a message can come in a lunchbox. A message can come in an envelope. A message can come in a bottle. A message can come through a radio. And I have somebody that just started doing this, so that now they have to get the little pretend radios for their little 4-year-olds. A message can come through a phone. A message can come through a friend. A message can come from a mailboat. It's a different one. A message can come from a pigeon. A message can come from a dove. But the very best message of all comes from the heart of God. So that's our little pre-K book. And then we have a little message here on Meet the Team with a little plane. But anyway, so if you want to know anything else about Three Angels for Kids, let me know later and I'll tell you more. And I do have a card there with some QR codes. But what we're going to do today is very different than that. This is about how to teach, but not just teaching kids. This is for anybody. If you teach Sabbath school lesson, anything. So does anyone here teach a Sabbath school lesson? Any Sabbath school teacher? Okay.
Sabbath school and the pre.
Okay. There you go. Anybody teach kids? I certainly know you do. Anybody trying to teach somebody else something that doesn't want to listen? There's always that. But so I thought it would be good that we talk about some strategies so that you can engage your audience. And, even if you're speaking, let's say every seat in here was filled, you can still divide into small groups. And so we're going to be dividing into small groups continually today so that you can process and learn the information. So don't be shy, because it's not like you have to come up front, but you can be with people that you're comfortable with to try out these strategies. So I'm going to ask you, tell the person next to you, you two can tap each other, and maybe you three or something, you three. What's the whole point of a question? If you ask somebody a question, why do you ask somebody a question? What's the whole point of it?
Get information.
Yes.
we have to do it. So, she's turned it to see it, and we teach and answer they were asked question. They hear what you ask for back. Right, system for the bigger. Find deeper here and there.
We're giving information.
Okay. So why do you ask a question? Okay, getting information is one thing.
For understanding.
All right, trying to see if somebody else understands something.
Encourage dialogue and multiple suggested answers.
Yeah, getting somebody's perspective on something. Yeah. Come on in. We're just getting started.
You just want to know what's going on.
You just want what?
We just want to know what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, we want you to know what's going on. Come on in. We have some papers here. We want to make this so good that you're actually going to stay. You know, if you leave, I'm going to feel insulted. So you're committing now. So I wanted to know, why do people ask a question? What do you think? Why do people
Find an answer?
Okay. Why else? Why else does somebody...
Thank you.
Would I ask a question if I already have the answer that I want in my head?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that make sense to you that I'm continually asking a question? I'm trying to get you to say what's in my head.
Well, sometimes you want them not to just reflect what you're thinking, but what they're thinking.
Yeah. I tell you what, if I go to a Sabbath school class and there is a teacher and the only method is for that teacher to continually ask questions, and the people are like playing 20 questions and they're trying to raise their hand and get what's in the teacher's head. No, that's not it. And then somebody else, oh, I know, it was Methuselah. No. Oh, it was, okay, is that a genuine, authentic question? Okay, that's guess what I'm thinking. That's right. All right. So there's something that has to do with a question, that is curiosity. You ask a question because you're curious if it's an authentic question, okay? So, and you know, when I was working on my doctorate at Boston University, it was really interesting because there's this whole thing in academia about curiosity is this big scholarly thing. You have to be curious. And I remember we went all around the table in the first class I went to because we were supposed to be thinking what we want to do our research on. And everybody had to say what they were curious about. And people were passionate. They were curious. And one person said, I'm not curious about anything. And the whole class gasped like it was the worst thing it could have said. But when you're asking a question, if it's authentic, you're curious. You really do want to know what somebody thinks. You're not just playing school. So think about that when you're doing some kind of a presentation. So you see, I put this for you to make life easy so you could take notes. You want to engage your audience with genuine conversation.
Sandra?
Yes.
One of the questions that I absolutely hate.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
Right. People really don't want to know that.
I tell people, if I ask you, I really want to know.
Yeah. Right.
You engage.
Yeah. People often really want good information to make them feel better. We have a son who's very ill and has a very rare disease. And people will ask us, is he better now if he goes into the hospital? And they really want closure. They really don't want to hear how he's doing because it's unsettling to them. So you're right. All right, so if you want to take notes on slide 3, a class should be involved in giving and taking. When we're finished here, I shouldn't be the only one that's giving. You can give because you have stuff that I don't know about yet. You're going to help lead you're all going to help lead the class in here. So the class should not just be, I'm giving out to you, but you're all giving to me. And I remember some of you that came last time, I remember your perspectives and everything. It was good. All right, so if you want to fill that in, we're asking authentic questions. We're going to talk about that. And we're providing a forum for everybody to express themselves. So that's kind of what we're going to work on today. So what's an authentic question? If you already have the answer in your head, that's not authentic. That's not real. You're not curious. It's like you said, it's called guess what's in my head. If you want somebody to say what's in your head, that's not an authentic question. If you really are curious and you're prepared and you can handle the answer, okay. If there's, I think you brought that out, Rick, if there's unlimited possibilities for responses, that's authentic.
Sandra?
Mm-hmm.
We were in a class in the last 6 months, and the teacher started out like that, and their only answer was in his head. And most of us realized, well, I know him, and that's aggravating. You know, if he didn't want to engage in what we were thinking, shut all the answers.
It's frustrating.
One of them early on, I said, Kurt, are you really looking for an answer, or is it one in your head?
Boy.
Because I've been him for years, and I thought, this is disgusting to come in, and he shifted gears.
Oh, good for him. So he was open.
And engaged us, but so wasn't intending to go that way. It didn't.
Wow, but you helped him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah, so your new thoughts and ideas are embraced. You're not putting somebody down because they think differently from you. You're taking in what they have to say. Okay, so everybody got that. And we're going to get into some of this in a minute, actually doing this. But an authentic question is open-ended. What do we mean by open-ended?
He's trying for his special.
Yeah, it's open. It's not closed.
Yes,
Yeah. It's we're giving various perspectives. Okay, so a question starter might be, how do you feel about this? Have you ever experienced anything like this? Can you give an example from your own life? So we're actually going to do some of this. Now, let me just give an example just to make sure everybody gets a closed question. A closed-ended question is, what are the Hebrew names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Yeah.
Also, yes and no answers. As a
Anyone know the answer? No, I said, but what are the... Yeah, so see, she answered it. So now she's the star of the class. Okay, so that would be an example of a closed-ended question. There's just one right. So let's say somebody raised their hand and said something, then that was wrong. Then the leader is either going to say, well, you're close, or wrong. And then the person I'm never going to answer a question again. So it becomes this artificial kind of a thing. All right, so let's demonstrate in your small groups. So I will let you off easy by saying you can form groups of 3 yourself. I won't make you go to someone you don't know yet. But try to form a group of about 3 people, and I'm going to lead you through where you will ask one another some. I'm going to ask you some authentic questions and just give you a few minutes to do it, and then later you'll ask the authentic questions, all right? Groups of 3-ish. Look around, because if you have look behind you. If there's a person that's only one person behind you, draw them in, or, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through. This is what I do for Sabbath school, and I don't try for Sabbath school to get through the quarterly. Sometimes I don't even get through half, and I don't go in the order of the days. I go with the concept, and I teach a contemporary class. That's what we're calling it now, because it was supposed to be young adult, and then it turned into the renegade class, because anybody that was wanting to not just sit there and take in the regular classes coming into mine. So I changed the name of it. But let's say you have Joseph being thrown into the pit. I'm going to lead you through some open-ended questions the way that I do this. All right, so I would start. Now, Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. That's interesting. And you'll notice you can just take the littlest tiny bit of information and really plumb the depths of it. And when I looked at that, I thought that's really interesting. Where his father was a stranger. What are the implications of that? What family connections did they have there? Have you ever lived in a place where there were no relatives or anything like that? So I want you to talk about, have you ever lived in a place where your father was a stranger, where you just came in and you had no other family members? And if you didn't, what do you think this might have been like for, wait, should I have put now Jacob dwelt in the land? I want to make sure I have this correct. I think it's correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. Just talk about that a little bit, what that experience would be like to live in a place where you don't know anybody.
And that is what the frat. That's quite. It's almost what do you how it? Go.
That's school. Let's go. So, see, Jerry doesn't give. I did. Let's.
What that?
Why did God kill Jacob's father?
Why did he? Why do you think?
I'll have to view the rest of this one.
What do you think he's like?
Just died of old.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But those kinds of questions are good because you're trying to probe it. You're trying to get deeper. You're trying to get to that. Yeah. 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 You're on the right track.
Gary. Well, we were.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Was that a little different experience than just what's the Hebrew names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Okay, so that's one kind of question you can ask, is a personal question to get the person involved. Now, as you go on in this text, it says Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. What kind of questions might you ask somebody that would be an open-ended question to go with this? It's just a very small thing here.
Assuming that they don't know who Joseph is,
Okay.
you could ask them what it's like to be a 17-year-old. Where is he in the family? They had just helped, and what would that feel like as being the youngest of multiple other brothers?
Yeah. Yeah.
All of whom have different mothers.
Yeah. So you could say, what is it like to be 17 years old? Do you remember what you felt like when you were 17 years old? You know, my husband and I had become separated from our grandchildren. And for 11 years, we really didn't get to see them. They were 4 and 6 the last time that we saw them. And 2 years ago, the oldest was 15, and she contacted us and said she wanted to see us. We saw them 2 years ago. And on the way here, we realized we were going through where they lived, and we made contact through Facebook, and we saw these two young women, now 15 and 17, that we really basically haven't seen since they were 4 and 6. So on our way here, we spent 2 full days with them. And now I know a little bit about how a 17-year-old thinks. And so I found this very interesting. But when you're going through a passage, if you're teaching a class or something, look at what stands out to you. You know, somebody's 17 years old. You could ask this: where were you when you were 17 years old? What were you doing when you were 17 years old? One time I had some people at my house, and we were going through some kind of an icebreaker or something, and I don't know what possessed me, and it was all older people. My husband is a retired pastor, and this one congregation, there were a lot of older people. And sometimes you might assume that older people, you know, you don't know their lives. You don't know their lives. You don't, you know, you just see them frozen in time. I don't know what possessed me to say it, but I looked at everybody and I said, what were you doing in 1976? I just came up with a year. The sharing that happened around that table was unbelievable. I was shocked. So, I mean, and people started sharing from the heart. You know, someone they went through a very painful circumstance or whatever. So where were you when you were 17 years old? Were you as capable as Joseph? Could you be out there working? I asked my granddaughter, now that we've reconnected, what are you doing over the summer? Nothing. You don't have to work? No. Now, my dad owned a machine shop. When I was 17 years old, I had to be running automatic turret lathes and automatic screw machines and all of that, and because he believed we needed to work over the summer, so we had to work in the machine shop. Get a little oily. But he did that because he knew that every summer after college, we had to come back and work in that machine shop. You better believe we stayed in college because we knew that if we didn't, we'd be working in a machine shop for the rest of our lives. So what were you doing when you were 17 years old? Here's somebody that's out feeding the flock. So that's another question, that personalization part. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. All right, now here's a question. What questions would you be able to engage a class in with this?
Something about more than one wife. More than one mother.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah.
This was.
Yeah. Yeah. How did these wives get along, and how did that impact somebody else? You know, have you ever been in an awkward situation? Yeah, and you had a good question before, was like, what happened to Jacob's father? You know, so that was an example of a question where you back up kind of historically, provide a context, which was good. Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, has anyone had an experience where there is a divorce and there is a good relationship or a bad relationship with other exes and whatever? We were talking to somebody today whose parents are divorced, but she said they get along well. So when we have holidays, it's not a problem. Then I was talking to someone else that said it's a major problem. So yeah, you've got all these layers here. So those are good questions. And it's interesting now, he's being called a lad. Suddenly we're thinking of him as younger. So yeah, just again, thinking of questions that can get people talking. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. So go ahead in your groups again. And instead of doing the personalized kind of question, here's just a curiosity question. Why do you think he brought a bad report? We always think of Joseph as this good person, and we hold him on a pedestal. He was sort of kind of tattling or something. Why do you think he did it? You can talk about that for a little while.
As this a bit just would How do you stop? See.
So, Becky, ako sa bitas. But is the time used is big see illicit. So, Sinjin, well, I know. 你有问题。是，I know. Fine. Easy, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah. No. I get hot in here, but I'm just gonna.
Very good.
Oh. Okay, a few thoughts. I heard somebody say, I didn't even notice that. You see? I like that kind of a thing. So you're learning from people in your group. You're coming up with ideas. Why do you think you did bring that bad report? Different ideas on that?
I think it was just a reflection of his good boy. I mean, he was a rule follower, and his brothers weren't doing the right thing, and he was here to get it straight.
Yes. I understand rule followers. I live with a rule follower.
But his father had sent him to get the report.
Yeah. Okay.
Go to your brothers and come back and tell me what's going on.
Yeah. So he was doing what he was asked to do. He's a good boy. He was trying to color between the lines. Interesting. Yeah.
I'm thinking from the side of being a step brother. Many. So most of them they were step brothers other than Benjamin. So I will tell on them.
Okay. So there was some stress because of the relationship, maybe the stepbrothers. He would tell. Maybe he wouldn't have told on Benjamin, you're thinking. We don't know that, but maybe not. Yeah. Yeah. The rule follower says he would have. I tell my husband I don't even want him in town if I'm buying or selling a car, because it's very hard to do that when you have someone saying, make sure they saw the scratch on the back of the car here. Yeah, he's the rule follower. So we looked at different kinds of questions, personal application, how does this apply to you? What were you like when you were 17? Background information. Now, the young man, I tried to keep those young men, but it looks like I may have lost them. When I wasn't looking, they slipped out, but he actually had a question about background information and context. He said, well, what happened to his father? And now this is a why question, just kind of probing deeper, like, why do you think this happened? What other kinds of questions might you ask about a passage?
Or you guys go minus book.
Yeah. You might just ask some kind of, looking for some kind of factual, and that's kind of a little bit of the context. Yeah, I wonder how far that could be interesting to have to figure it out. Like maybe this would be sort of like a map kind of a thing, as far as how if you're looking you could have somebody look on a map because you might not even think about that. Maybe it was a long hike. Yeah. So these are all different kinds of questions. So I'm going to give you a few minutes now. And what I want you to do, you probably all have your phones to look up Genesis 37 and just continue going through some texts and ask the other person or the other people in your group questions and see if you can come up with different kinds of questions so that you're developing this skill of looking at a passage and coming up with a question that could stimulate a conversation. So just keep going just for 5 minutes with Genesis, coming up with questions. Well, you lost your group partner, so you're going to... There's 2 people in the back. You go with them at the very back if you want. Genesis 37, come up with questions.
Give me bring my book. So it's two, and then the 2 birds.
Oh, just listen. The Genesis 37 days. My days. 6. Inks. 6. Hot. Need. And I was just, well,
Yeah. Then it's for you. Children.
up to that point, prayers. Sons of the and the sons of Jerry, but these days to these of these sons.
He's David X.
He was you see
Chief. See,
Rachel. Yeah, favorite by Rachel. So there you go. Public is tension. Was it dysfunctional? I wasn't. Overs.
You guys doing okay back here? You doing okay? So you're wanting to ask different kinds of questions of the other people in your group, and you're practicing the skill of asking the questions. As you go through the passage, ask the other people in your group a question that comes to your mind. That would be more open-ended.
you need. Right.
So do you have any?
There's piece cash. Sisters.
There would be a reason. I have one brother that I like could be first his net breast. Yeah, and there could be even more caught with some more or but
I did. I'm from a family of 5 kids. I think that's the issue.
Who want the parents back to stay there? My brother, you eat. Who's here?
That's that affecting family.
these change periods at typical weekday. Well,
It is so
one.
Coming up with some questions?
So my I was asking, did Isaac relate that report to his wife?
Okay. All right. So did he tell the wife what happened? All right. So then what type of a question would that be? Probably probing deeper, trying to get, what role did the wife have in all of this? That's an interesting question, and that you can think of your own family dynamic. Do you ever cover for your kids and not tell them what what the kid is telling you? Sometimes we do that to try to, we form dyads. That's called forming a dyad.
Jealousy among the family because Joseph and Benjamin are the children of Rachel, whom Isaac loved. And thus, of course, they would not treat them well. That's why when Joseph went to his father, he reported them how he was treated by the other kids,
Yeah.
other children.
Yeah. Keep going with the passage. Keep reading more and coming up with questions. Yeah, that was a good question. Did he tell his wife about that? Did he keep it among the men? Yeah. Yeah. Just keep reading it.
Six, but when the brothers saw that their fathers loved him, and all of his brothers did. Oh yeah, the fam. And you think of the category, you kept your brothers and sisters, so he's, and my dad thoughts that see, I just wish they just bought. We had time we looked at your parents and said they loved them more than me.
We know that. We knew who was the paid by the teacher. Thanks.
Probably because every best honey sissy.
The just the oldest was
I'll see it siblings. Yes, dear. Years later,
little two, and those are sense twos. You had a group of.
Yeah, you have more than their families, boy, and they were as young.
Well, the youngest was couple process in the prepared airplanes.
Did you really and they go there for fish?
But, all right.
Sure, Beerlippins.
I wasn't the youngest, but there was two of us. I have a younger brother, but I was the one that was allergic to everything and knew us so.
you were being up. You is
Sec as my seat is eight. Great. As Steve. My sister do bakery kissed so the school, and so she bought it during package tickets. I was housed 60%. These are about the same size, and I would wear her clothes Monday through Thursday. I would wash them on Thursday evening in the back. Was it exactly where she happened? She never does like folks. She polished, and I did my nails with one color. She pat, and I did another color that she had on top. As she got on that weekend, and she grabbed my hand and she said, "I'd have a color like that." But yes, you do. It's both of them. See, I was that.
Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me some of your questions. I think you were asking something. I heard you asking.
We're asking, where were you in the hierarchy of your brothers?
Oh, what's your birth order? Okay, that's a good one. What is your birth order? And that got a lot of conversation going. What is your birth order? Good one. Now, you notice, in a sense, we could say it's a closed-end question because there's only one answer to it, but it leads to a whole host of self-disclosures.
It's different for every person. So not just one answer, but I remember, 5 of 6.
3 of them were wrong. What was the consequence of
That's where it opened up. Yeah, so it funneled right into what was your experience in that birth order. Yeah. What other questions did we have?
About the old cars, like, what was the significance of that? Was more expensive? Was it harder to get done?
That's interesting.
Was it symbolic of like, I know, only the rich people wore that?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah, I like that. It is interesting because a lot of times you hear the same stories over and over again and you forget to start probing and asking those questions. So what was the significance of that coat? Were they different? And when you think about it, like with the temple, they had all those different hides of sea cows and all different colors and purples and linens. So maybe that did relate to wealth. If you could have all of those different colors, you even think of gems of different kinds and stuff. So yeah. It certainly wasn't because he was patching something together with leftover things, but it is an interesting thing, a question I had never thought about, which comes back to the give and take. When you teach like this, you learn from the people in the class. Yeah.
what was the relationship between all the wives?
Okay, that's another one. What was the relationship between the wives? Okay, I'm just going to, yeah. I think in the back you had an interesting question that had to do with relationships. Yeah, I think you were asking when Joseph gave the bad report to his father, did the father share that with his wife? Which is an interesting question. Do you ever cover for a child when you're the husband or the wife?
In the chapter there, it mentions that they were the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, which were the sons of concubines and not full status wives. I wondered why was he just with them and not with the other full?
Okay, so that wasn't all 12 of them.
There's no real answer to it. Bible point out the concubines and call them by name.
Interesting.
Very few women's names are even called out in the Bible.
That's true. And see, I wouldn't have even thought of that.
And that's the question we ask here was, what's the story doing in the Bible?
Oh, yeah, well, that's a nice broad one. What's the story even doing in there?
Why tell this story?
Yeah.
Just once.
Why do you think the sons of the concubines were acting out more than the legitimate children?
Oh, okay. Why were the sons of the concubines acting out more than the legitimate children, right? I can't even get them all down. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Acting out. Yeah. Why is my handwriting getting worse and worse? I'm trying to rush. Why is this particular story in the Bible? That's interesting. Why is this even included? Yeah.
So weren't the face one was what?
Okay. Yes.
What role did Greek have to play in the whole story?
Wow. And you see, those kinds of questions could really begin to open people up and if people are willing to be vulnerable. So what role grief and story? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. And, you can begin in a Sabbath school class or in a group to develop a sense of trust and vulnerability. And you can tell when new people come into the group that maybe aren't used to it. Like if you had a group and you were asking those kinds of questions, if you had established a sense of safety, you would have people talking about their own grief and how maybe that prompted them to do things or whatever. And I know in my class, I have that. And now I had a new person come in. And even though I wasn't doing the 20 questions, I can tell he's used to that kind of class because he keeps trying to get the right answer. And because I said, which is more difficult for you to show humility? Or who's harder to relate to? Because it was a story in the Bible about it was the lesson. Remember, we had a lesson on humility. I said, is it harder for you to relate to people who are above you in status or quotes unquote below you? Is it harder for you to relate? Are you trying to prove yourself more because somebody has a higher status, or are you
Domineering?
Yeah, a little domineering if someone is below you. Thank you. And this guy said, well, no, neither. I don't do either because that's not God's way. So I guess I had a perfect person in the class, but he didn't realize that we are, making ourselves a little vulnerable here. So that takes time. And that kind of a question, what role does grief play in this story? Wow. Could that connect with people if they're willing to be honest? Any other questions that people came up with? Yes.
One that has to do with why did he tell the dream? Why did he relate the dream? Was he asked to by that angel then delivered the dream? Or was it part of his,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did he even tell him the dream? Yeah.
And along with that, like, how did they automatically know what to be met? Was there somebody that made me like, oh, speak?
Yeah. So you've got why questions, how questions, what questions. Now, if you were categorizing these questions, how would you categorize them? What is your birth order? What was the significance of the coat of many colors? What was the relationship between the wives? Why were the sons of the concubines acting out? Why is this particular story in the Bible? What role does grief play in the story? Why did he tell the dream? How did they know? Do you see these forming any kinds of categories?
Well, they really some of them are open-ended.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah, but there are many open-ended. Some of them are very psychological, probing kinds of questions. So think about the kinds of questions you ask when you're teaching a class. I've been asked to teach Sabbath school, whole group, for a very large church. When we had at Crest Memorial Church in Winter Park, Florida, they had the 200, or I don't know which, they were celebrating some birthday anyway. And it was a huge, it would be every seat filled and more in here, but you can still ask a question for Sabbath school and say, discuss it in your group. You don't have to get up there and preach another sermon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit off topic, costly. I was more as many, seems like Billy Mites, I'm not sure, you seem to be teaching a lot of things. So I find that when I'm teaching, I'm looking for kind of that inductive type. So I've done study, and I'm trying to draw out the answers. Didn't ask a rest open and think, dude, it just moves so slow when it's something that I've kind of set as the goal.
Yeah.
Over that session. We move really slow.
Yeah. But sometimes
it's always my bad when I'm leading.
You're right, though. Yeah. And so you can combine it. you can do a personal application question to get everyone interested. Like, what is it like to be 17 years old? Okay, now you move into your content because you've got them. And they're all, so they're not just looking at this story with dry eye, it's just, wow, to be 17 or whatever their connecting point, then you can move into your content.
My question is this. I have the fear that when I do that, I'm going to lose control of the class. Right. And we're going to be talking about pious things, but not about what the lesson. Right. Does that matter? Yes, because we say you should study the Bible. Right. And then we just have a chit-chat. Right. Which ties into it and study.
Correct. So that ties exactly into what he said. So you don't just want a class where someone's doing 20 questions, but you can do a connecting activity that people connect to and then bring, and you always have to keep that focus. And that's the art of being a teacher, getting it back on if they go too far afield, getting it back on. Yes.
So is it safe to say that you do these open-ended questions at the beginning of your class and then you move it?
Yes. But sometimes I get, do your churches have that bell thing where you have 10 minutes? Ding! Sometimes the ding goes off and we're still on the connecting activity because now my class, you do have to corral it back because the point is not just to talk about what you felt like when you were 17, Yeah. So you do have to corral it. Good points. Did you have something?
No, I just have a quick question. Maybe you could tell me that I could ask later. That's fine.
So, as Sabbath school superintendent, I'm having great success in the lower division, or what we would consider elementary, middle school, and high school. Then you have those elders, but they just
preach.
It is so horrid.
They just preach.
Adult women going into the youth Sabbath school because they'd rather be there, or adult men in their 30s and 40s. So, and I'm like 20, I'm getting there. I'm 20 years younger than most of these people that are doing these 3 different Sabbath school classes. And then they have me do, I have to have every time we'd say, Sabbath school council was supposed to discuss all this stuff. How do I, as a younger person, say something like, this is great, but I can't get none of them to do this?
Yeah, that, for our church, we had a little training where we went through some of these things. And sometimes you can, try to get together and have a little training of some kind.
New wine and old wineskins. It's tricky.
It's challenging, for sure. Yeah, so anyway, that's a little bit about the questioning. Now, I want to show you one other strategy. It's very similar to this, but it's got another, this is called read and say something. Now, instead of telling somebody you're going to read this particular text, you have to train the class to do this because otherwise they go back to doing it the old way. The person can decide how much they want to read. Now, again, the new person that came into my class, he just read like the whole thing. He really didn't quite get it. But anyway, I'm working on him. But because sometimes if you just say read a text, a Bible text might stop in the middle of information or, stop at a semicolon. So the reader decides how much they want to read. The reader stops when they're ready to say something. See, you can do this with the content part also. Others may respond to the reader's remarks, but the reader has the last word. Now, we're used to you read a text and then somebody else is raising their hand, or I think this. But no, read as much as you want, but when you stop, you make a comment. It doesn't have to be a long comment. You could just be, Joseph had a coat of many colors. I wonder if that meant that coat was worth more value. Somebody may say, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it does. But then whoever started it has the last word. So you might say, I'm going to research that, let everybody know next week or whatever. But whoever did the reading has the last word. It's a very tiny twist, but it can add a lot of meaning to a class. So I'm going to have you do that with Acts 6. The first person, and I think, I know this could be painful, but I think I'm going to mix you up for this. So here we go. Number yourself from 1 to 3. 1. Are you doing it, Tiz? All right, 2.
3.
1.
2. And remember your number. No, 3.
3. Okay. I was.
Okay, 1. Do I need to start over? Is everybody remembering their number? Okay, 1.
2. 3. 1. 2.
3.
1. 2. 3.
1. 2. 3.
1.
Okay, this is crazy because I was trying to get 3 people, but that doesn't even make sense. We have to do it again anyway. Wait, how many people are in here? Because if you're counting by 3s, then there's going to be these ginormous groups. All right, wait a minute. We have to do this, and then we have to do the, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so there's 24 people, so we want 8 groups of 3. Right?
No, you were numbered 1 through 3.
I know I numbered wrong, so I'm getting a new method. I just realized like that because now we're going to have 3 groups of 8 instead of 8 groups of 3. So now we have to count to 8. And then we'll count to 8 3 times. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6, 7, 8. All right. So if you are number 1, come and join my husband here. If you're a number 2, come and join this gentleman who came to my workshop last year, so I consider him part of my fan club. Yeah. If you're a 2, this is the 2s. You're the 3, 4s.
I was 8.
Okay, we'll get there. 5s.
You 1.
6s, 7s, and 8s. So, okay. 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6. You're 8, and I don't know what happened to the 7s. Okay. And then start with Acts 6, and you're going to do a read and say something.
Remember purely. We're still missing a 7.
Okay. Okay. Y'all understand what you're doing?
I don't.
Read and say something. Acts 6, you're doing read and say something. So I'm counting on you to be the group leader. You were paying good attention.
So back it was an 8. Where so was.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here's the 4s. The 2s are right here. The 1s are right there.
Where are the
1s, 2s.
That's all I do.
These are the 2s.
All the versions, and then you choose this version. Fine, I think. Well, I just don't.
So you're ending up with 2 people. Wait, what? You can go with these 2 because they're the 5s. What are you, the 4s? I don't know what happened, but okay, you guys can get together if you want. What are you? The 2s? Okay, so you 4. You're fine.
Russell Robert Casper. Russell Robert Casper.
Oh, there you go.
Sitters.
Yeah, so you can do it.
Roberts.
Okay. Yeah, I would say you 2 just go with these 2. I don't know what happened to the 4s and 5s.
Do you know the good sound?
You only got lead us it.
Okay. So you all understand what you're doing, right?
Somebody else, please.
I'll put this.
So what the verses?
All bands said beer.
This is Daniel. How much are the readers?
Look at this. Look at this. So the reader decides how much to read. The reader stops when they're ready to say something. Then they say something. Others can respond. The reader has the last word, then go to the next one. So you read how much you want to read until you're ready to make a comment about it.
When you big,
When you get because you can make this always has stays a meeting kindy also. When the number is oh you know how's their widow and so really is a street. Circa 12 called a multitude of the disciples after them and said, it is not always a refuge the word of God and say tables. Start getting those who just say the so.
it didn't just is the yeah. This is about issues that said sabes the station is that it they love skin loss, but you just so jip scare of thinking on the others.
She's
So all the signage is gathering themselves. You're gonna say you that bar a year. So press.
so whoops that too.
Yes, today is she's yes.
The paper tree always had their pain days. They were trying to say
They were trying to include other in the finish. It's like stop already what they were what their purpose was. So as the Jesus time to East City, they also try to get the other middle conclusion of the finish. So I diet. But they also try to put other years so some purpose and really it's a certain minute that way that everyone is the just randomly.
They made a decision of project. You saw what they do in this area. It's
was they knew what they were close says suspects. So that break down the particulars is so oh when get us a well you see would speak in so this below the knees these days
is then these days was a jeez. And we still the trick is to
these dirty kids Tuesday
says they presented the present the kiddies. So the word is got nerds. Just in these years.
it's big space they can be inst.
Okay, think about in your groups, has everyone had a chance to do their reading part? Okay, so then you always have to be aware too of that and keep making sure each person, because another part of this is so that everyone will get a chance. So be aware of that, because now we're like, yeah, we only have 6 minutes left. So it's, but keep moving. But that's good that you're having deep discussions, but make sure each person gets a chance.
But we will give ourselves nearly rhythm.
Wasn't it?
Isn't was there then or is ignore Turner protest the was silent plus see company. Averages was ill, but we give our some word. Doris sassy GSP
And I reading the down. That is his a lot sure tran
text on a conspiracy soup and random gazette service snare and the beetle big hole. I am Bob with you to start on listen. Wumpo
Sepeti at I think this is the a bit more fun by as in by was steeped so felt
Because that was the issue that they bring. He says, she's got goodies.
in the naughty of the days. You do hear this. Please.
Don't forget this part. After you read, the reader has the last word before you go to the next part. So you might say, did you have any other thoughts to your reader? Before you give them the courtesy, whoever was the one reading, then you go to the next reader.
Stare. Do this another round. See. See. Just finish one.
Oh, you guys always got a chance to read? Oh, good.
It will be a long day.
Now you see why when I teach Sabbath school, I don't get real far, but the people take something out of it. Because you probe into those texts and
The learning back in the hands of the learner, they knew it.
yeah. And when you really probe that deep into a passage, you never forget that passage. Like somebody said about the women, that went to the tomb and saw that Jesus was no longer there. It said, very early in the morning, they went to the tomb and they said over the whole Sabbath, they must have just been going, they were like just waiting because they just wanted, because they're doers, they wanted to get out there. And I'll never forget that, just picturing those women like, when is the sun going to go down? We got stuff to do. And very early the next morning, as soon as boom, they were out the door. Like you remember, yeah. But I mean, my class now, they study at home. I ask them, did you read the lesson? And they did. So we can pick and sometimes I just start out by saying what stood out to you. And then that gets us started. You have to be brave though, because some people think if you don't get through every single page, you didn't do your job. But yeah, so.
by without look at that question.
All right, looks like we're going to have to wrap it up. But I think you brought up some good things, you know. How do you go deep, but yet get the information that needs to be gotten out? I think that was a good question that he asked. I got to ask him, are you a teacher?
I teach Sabbath school too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was an insightful question, you know. How do you, if you have information that you want to get to people, how do you get the balance? But sometimes they say it's better to go a mile deep than an inch wide, because if you're trying so hard to cover every single last detail, it may not be something meaningful and lasting that's going to stay with people. I don't know. Another thing that I was happy about when I saw this read and say something is that some of you that were more quiet in the other groups had a chance to open up. And, you know, somebody may be very quiet, but they could be very, very insightful. And when you give them that chance, you're like, wow, there was a lot of stuff in that head. So, I think it's hard. The reader has the last word. And that's another way of drawing it back in, you know, and showing respect to that person that read and had that unique comment about it. So those are just some strategies, I think, for teaching that I really want to get across, that authentic question, so we can get past this guess what's in my head kind of teaching. Tomorrow, where it's reach every participant with big ideas, this is about thinking conceptually. This actually saved me, because I don't know anybody here, but it's a very big challenge for somebody to ask you to teach a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old about the three angels' message. It's a revelation. You know, if you want to take on the job of teaching a 5-year-old about the wrath of her fornication, God bless you. So I almost didn't take my position when I was asked to write curriculum for children on three angels' messages. But what saved me was conceptual thinking. And if you are working with people, even in your neighborhood, that don't share the same belief system as you, or if you're working with younger people, or if you're working with people that you're having an argument with, you have a different position on something, if you broaden out, you will eventually get to a conceptual level that's going to work, that you can agree on this concept. Let's say two people are arguing. Well, maybe they're arguing because they don't perceive it as being fair. Well, you just broaden it out. You both agree on the concept of fairness. So I want to show you tomorrow how thinking conceptually can save you and help you as a teacher and even as a negotiator. I mean, if you want to go in that direction. But thank you very much. You guys all did a great job. Everybody gets an A for today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, thank you. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to have a closing prayer. Okay. Yes, okay, let's stand for the closing prayer. I was thinking something seemed like it needed to happen now. So let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, thank you so much for each person that came today. I pray you'll be with all of us. Help us as we work with children, friends, neighbors, church members, to be able to engage in ways that bring your gospel in new and relevant and fresh ways to them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
So you all enjoyed this. Invite a friend to come tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. I was going to say that.
The pre-K curriculum.
Oh, yes. It's just came out. It's so new. It's not even on our own website yet. But you can get it from Adventist. Advent Source Server has it out. I'll serve the friend server.
VKK. She seemed a little higher. Was on the tree. It was crazy how God shoved her in the front door of our church on Sabbath. His school started on Monday. And I actually scooted these begin date for pre-take the Wednesday. So she had
Detail I don't, but or we, used to be. I had a good friend. His father, you see, was the pastor.
For sure, pastoral. His dad was a pastor. Cheers.